if Dave joins us, he'll join us a few minutes late. If anybody hears back from him, just let me know. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the meeting, the Vernon Township MUA meeting for July 15, 2021. Statement of compliance. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the regular meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 20, 2021. By delivering to the press such notice and posting the same at the municipal building and filed with the office of the township clerk. Everyone want to rise for Pledge Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance,
to the flag
of
of
the
the
United States of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
justice
justice for all.
justice for all. Thank you, Paul Carney. I like the flag up there.
Oh, nice. Nice touch, Paul.
Yeah, it was.
There you go.
I'll keep this right here by the computer for the next meeting.
Roll call members and professionals.
Okay, Mike Fury,
Present.
Paul Carney,
Here.
Kristen Wheaton,
Present.
Andy Pitzker,
Present.
Scott Galway,
Here.
and absent, we have Dave McDermott and Harry Shortway. For professionals tonight, we have Donnell Bright, administrator, Rich Leonard, the attorney, Steve Minoski, engineer, James Chappelle, engineer, Howie Leisure, licensed operator, and myself, Jacqueline McCabe, the recording secretary.
Did you get Steve Banowski?
Fantastic.
I did.
All right, vote number 5. Anybody want to make a motion to open the meeting to the public?
I'll make a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Second that.
Motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Andrew Pitzker. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody? Is there anybody online, Jackie? that
No,
wants to
there's no
speak?
one online and I don't have any correspondence.
All right.
Motion to close the meeting to public.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion by Andy Pitzker, seconded by Paul Carney. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed?
Just a correction on my
On to
motion. Just a correction on my motion. Motion to close to public comment. I said
Correct.
meeting.
You stand corrected.
Thank you.
All right, approval of bills, number 6, 21-38. Everybody had a chance to look at 21-38. Is there any comments, concerns?
Quick.
I just have one question. And it's a very minor thing on there. And I looked at these a couple days back, so I may be mistaken. Was there like a whole bunch of keys getting made? And if so, because we seem to have made a whole bunch of keys not that long ago, because I remember asking the question, what were all of these keys?
Right. So we had an issue with Pump Station 1, I believe it was, getting copies of that keys. That was a few months ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was more, I think, quite a while ago. We did get that issue resolved. I know that we put in for keys. I think we did a couple of copies, actually, Jackie, of your key. I don't know if that actually got processed, but I know that they were going to do that. I have not been told, I don't know if Howie can chime in on this. I haven't been told that we've lost any keys, so I want to see.
And the reason I ask, it's not a matter of cost and the spending of the money. I just don't want extra keys being meted out to people that perhaps shouldn't have them, and keys to these facilities, which need to be secured, are only secured if we have a count of the keys and where they are and who has them. That's the only, it's not a matter of like, oh, we spent this much money on keys, because really it's not that much money. It's more.
I can reach out to, or maybe
question.
Howie, you can reach out to Zach, because I see that Zach is the one who signed for those keys.
Yeah, the last set of keys were made for our DPW building. Since now they have to park the truck over by the building for the farmer's market.
Right, right,
And
okay.
we leave the keys inside so they can get in and out of the door.
They use a time clock there too, so.
I have a question for Howie, or in general, about the bioxide. Howie, when you ordered that, did you have any trouble getting the bioxide? Or was it, did it easily come? Was there any issues with delivery and any of that?
No, not this time, I don't believe, but Jackie can probably further answer that. The only time we have trouble getting that is in the winter months. Because the truck cannot get down that hill.
Oh, that's the reason why. So it's like the delivery is a problem.
Yeah, we try to, like I said, I was telling Jackie this before, we try to get it now so it lasts us through the winter.
All right.
The actual
so
ordering was very easy. They were very great about it, and there was no issues.
Yeah, and it's like a
All right,
2-week
good.
turnaround time,
Yeah,
so
about
it's
2
not,
weeks.
it's not, you know, we're not waiting months for it.
So there was no time that we ran out of chemical or we weren't feeding it, or is that were we not? And it's not a big deal if we're not feeding it, but
No.
was there any time that you're not feeding it?
Yeah, there was probably about a month. We shut down there so it wouldn't pump it dry.
Right.
Because I told them don't run it dry yet until we probably get almost 6-7 months in, so that way we make it through the winter.
Right.
So let me just out of curiosity, when we shut the system down, how much of a adverse effect on the olfactory senses did it produce? did it really start to give off odor over there? No, it gives off the same amount, either whether it's pumping in or out. Doesn't make that much of a difference. At least I don't believe it does. Just to clarify, so when you say you turn it off, you turned off the bioxide feed because you didn't want to run out. Is that yes? Okay, and it doesn't really seem to matter one way or the other. Right. So then, is this a necessary expense? If it doesn't really seem to make a difference, is this something that we need to be spending the money on? I mean, if it's reducing odor, I mean, it's obvious that we should do it. But if it's the same one way or the other, is this just throwing, you know, bioxide down the drain, so to speak? Well, at this time, since there's nothing down here, I don't think we need to turn it on. Right. But
Yeah.
if the bike pump was to go in effect and people started using it, I would probably say then we need to. Okay.
Right.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point that Paul's making. It's like the pump station's so remote that you probably can get away with turning the chemical off, and then you won't have any odor problems. And really, honestly, Howard, you could make that decision if you want to turn it off because it's not doing anything and save the money, and then you could go ahead and do that.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying though. If you put the pump track there and put people down there, they're going to start smelling it, and we don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. Okay.
But I hear what Paul's saying. If it's not necessary to turn on, and your experience shows that it doesn't do anything, then just turn it off.
Okay. Yeah, you might find it's seasonal too. You know, when it's
right.
dead of winter, you might not, you know, off gas
you need it
as much. You know, I don't know. I'm not there physically, so that's why I'm asking the questions. No,
we don't have these bioxides in the other stations either, though. So this is the only one.
Right.
Well, you use aeration on the other sites, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Aeration takes care of the odor.
Right.
Okay.
So here, that's the reason why bioxide's used in lieu of aeration.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions about the bills list? Anybody want to make a motion?
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Regarding the finances. Since we've passed the 6 months to now, where are we at to budget for the first half?
I'll update those reports for you guys.
Perfect.
I
Thank
ran
you.
them. I didn't get them to you. I apologize for that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Anybody want to make a motion to pass? I'm sorry, I'm like looking at resolution 21-38, bills list.
Motion to pass resolution 21-38, the bills list.
I'll second that.
Motion by Andy Pitskers, seconded by Kristen Wheaton. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Kearney,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andy Pitsker,
Yes?
Scott Galway.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, there's no minutes at this time. Okay, resolution number 8, resolution 21-39, establishing connection fees. Did everybody have a chance to review that resolution?
I
This
did
was
read it.
discussed at last meeting. Any questions, concerns?
You said you discussed it at the last meeting?
Yeah, this was discussed at the last meeting where we considered different amounts to drop the connection fees, and we were, all of us were most comfortable that we were it would reduce 50%. We were comfortable with that reduction.
Okay, thanks.
I might make a suggestion that we hold off on this resolution until Kristen gets to see the meeting minutes regarding that discussion.
Yeah, I did just ask Jackie for a copy of the recording, which she provided to me. So
Okay.
I'll listen to that or watch it. But I mean, that's up to your discretion. I'm fine if you want to act on it.
No, I agree with Andy. Your opinion is important. And I wouldn't, I think you should get a chance to read it and see what was discussed, and then, because you may have your own questions or point of view that is pertinent to this, and I think we would all be interested in what you need to say or have to say about it.
Okay, thank you. I'll make sure to listen to it before next meeting.
So I propose we move this this resolution to the next meeting.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll
The
second
motion to, so motion to table to the next meeting by Andy Pitsker, seconded by Paul Kearney. Do you have to have a roll call or just?
You can
Yeah,
do
roll
that.
call, please.
Rick?
Yep.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Kearney,
it. Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andy Pitsker,
Yes.
Scott Galway.
Yes.
All right. We'll
Real
table
quick
that
question.
to the
Yeah,
next-
real quick question regarding this whole thing. We also got a bill from the auditor on this. They did a review of the EDU study on this, which is also linked to this. Correct, Danelle?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Yeah, so
you were frozen
Yes.
there for a moment. I wasn't sure.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the study is outside of their general scope, so they charge for that.
Yep, I saw that. And where is that document currently being filed?
Where is their draft
Evaluate.
document on the calculation?
Yes.
I just have it. I don't, it's not on the web. It's not on the website. It's a draft document. So I can tell him to remove all the draft information on it, and then we can put it up on the website once we decide what the fee is going to be.
But that was shared with everybody. I know Danelle
Right.
shared that.
Yeah, that was shared. I'm just wondering whether it's on the website yet, and it's not.
No, it's not on the website. It's a draft document. I would recommend not putting up a draft document on the website.
No,
until
we
it's
shouldn't put a
finalized.
draft document, but when it's ready for publication, it should be put on our site. All right.
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and Andy brings up a good point. And for Kristen, you should probably review that as well as the resolution and the minutes. And then, you draw your own conclusion if you agree with it or not. And then we'll table it to the next meeting.
Will do. I just made a note of that.
And if you need to talk to any of us, I think it's also, give the opinion to the others is not a bad idea.
Thank you.
All right. So that's good. Number 9, we're going to go into subcommittee reports. Pump Station 2, Transportation Subcommittee. I guess I'll turn that over to either Steve or James. Can you please go over where we're at with the application process to the DEP, because I know it was submitted.
Yes, that's correct, Mike. The for Pump Station 2, and this is strictly the pump station, the treatment works approval, TWA permit application was submitted last week. Usually that's about a 3 months process. Really the only other permit that will be required will be from Sussex County. Well, will be for the soil erosion and sediment control, which is a much easier process, but we'll get going on that shortly. But the TWA permit was submitted to DEP. So, and to kind of figure out the exact next steps here, which will involve some different review processes for the iBank applications. We were thinking that we should probably request a meeting with iBank representatives to confirm the next steps that they're expecting there.
Steve, it was received by DEP. Was it deemed administratively complete?
That I don't know, Mike. I did trade voicemails. We have not received correspondence as far as that goes. I did trade voicemails with a representative this week. I'll try to get in touch with it. I will continue to try to talk to him live.
Do you know who the reviewer is?
I got a call from, no, I don't. I got a call from Raj. He did not indicate that he was the reviewer necessarily, so I'm not 100% certain.
Right. So the way it works is they deem it administratively complete if it's complete.
Yep.
They review the permit. And I'm doing this for the rest of for the MUA so they understand the process, and Kristen understands it. She's gone through it. So once it's deemed administratively complete, that means we don't owe them anything else. They review it. And the question is you say they have 90 days to respond?
Yeah, so usually the administrative portion will happen within 30 days, and sometimes they take all 30, sometimes they don't. Yes, but overall, it's usually right around 90 days.
So if 90 days from now they approve the permit to start, is there anything we can do in the meantime to keep things moving?
Yeah, so and just to expand on what Mike was saying, the administrative part, it is probably, to say it's not unusual, it frequently, they almost always, it's not unusual whatsoever for them to find something that they find administratively incomplete, which kind of adds a little bit of time to the process. Unfortunately, it's a very common thing, but hopefully it won't happen here, but we will see here in the next couple of weeks. So to keep it moving, yes, like I said, for the iBank, so oftentimes iBank, they want to make sure that all permits have been received prior to them spending their time evaluating projects, because they don't want to evaluate projects that aren't going to be able to get permits. Sometimes some of these processes can happen concurrently. So one thing would be to hopefully have a meeting with the iBank folks and see what can be done to speed that process along, perhaps concurrently.
And the iBank reviewer, the engineer, is different from the TWA permit reviewer, right?
Yeah, but it's correct. Yes. Yes.
And Danelle, who's that engineer from the iBank? I spoke to somebody. I forget the person's name. It was he reviewed the asset management
I know
plan.
exactly who you're talking about. I have to
It
find his
wasn't.
name.
Yeah, it was a guy, and it was the way he explained it to me when I spoke to him. It was like, yeah, we finalize things when the permit gets approved, and then we approve the money for you.
Right.
So that's, and I agree that's probably, well, it might be good if you're gonna have a meeting. It'd probably be good to have that iBank engineer reviewer on the phone at the same time as the TWA permit reviewer is on the phone. So you force the DEP to talk to each other, right?
You're asking for a lot
And-
there, Mike.
I think it was it Piyush?
She's laughing. She's laughing there, but she's like, whoa. If we get them to talk to each other, maybe they'll move quicker,
Yep.
right?
Repeat that, Donnell.
I think it was Piyush. I have his
Oh,
email.
yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, I have that name from before. Yep.
Actually, he was very helpful too. When I spoke to him about the asset management plan, he was really helpful. I think he was pretty cooperative, so we were able to. I would touch base with him and try to get herd the cats and get them all together. I know we're asking a lot, but I think we can do it.
Okay.
Steve, I know I'm going to throw you on the hot plate now. Project outline plan. The last project schedule I've got here is just one page with none of this detail you mentioned.
Yep.
I think for all of our benefits, so that we don't have to go through this every time, is that can we get this? The dates on this obviously are out of date.
Yeah, correct.
Also, you just mentioned iBank. You mentioned other pieces of the steps in this project that are not in here. Can we get that in there, please?
Absolutely, Andy. That's what.
I'm sorry, I'm a real pain in the ass this way about that.
No, Andy. So James and I were talking earlier, and I said, "Boy, the one thing we inadvertently left off that schedule, unfortunately, was the iBank process." So, and like I said, sometimes something's going to happen concurrently. Sometimes they don't want to start the process, period, until after everything's ready to go. So hopefully after this, hopefully we can talk to them shortly and shore up what that schedule will be and update that schedule.
Thank you.
Steve, I got another question, and this is a question for you and James. Is it possible to get, or is it a good idea to get detailed specifications now, or do you wait for the DEP to? Do you get feedback from the DEP? When's the right time to start putting some design specifications that'll go out, ready for bid?
Yeah, so we do have probably what I would call probably about 75% of the technical design specifications completed and submitted as part of the permit application. So there will need to be some things added to that. But as far as the bid goes, I guess, there's also what we refer to as the front end specification, which is all the contract documents, forms that need to be filled out, general conditions. So that is one thing that could be, that we could start on anytime. I'm guessing that, Donnell will have to advise me on this, but I'm guessing we'll need Tom's involvement, or I'm not sure exactly how that will work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Danelle, Tom could put those, general specifications
Yep.
together, and then we'll rely on James and Steve to put the technical specifications together.
Yes.
And Mike, just a quick comment on that. A lot of the times with the tech specs, depending on what the DEP comes back with as far as technical comments, a lot of the times you could waste a lot of time getting the tech specs past like the 75% point, especially if they come back and have revisions or need things included. So, but I think we're at a good point right now. So.
Yeah, it's like one of those things is like we want to like hit the ground, you know, the pump stations, you know, we're lucky it's still working, you know, and this is, what I see is more, it's in kind, it's an in-kind pump station. It's not much different than what we have now. We have to fast track it because of the possibility of failure of the pump station. So and Howie can speak to it. He knows it. I've spoken to Chris Steelman, the backup operator, and Howie would say the same thing. You know, that pump station's old and it needs to be replaced, and we need to be in a good spot, you know, to get those out the door, and you know, and not necessarily wait for the DEP to tell us what to do. I think we need to be ahead of the DEP.
Sure.
As much as
Yeah, see if
possible.
we could progress them further. Yeah.
And to comment on Andy's, what Andy's saying about the schedule, that's really critical for the next meeting that we have. A detailed schedule of how, you know, it's going to go. So detailed schedule of the whole TWA process, the iBank process, you know, everything, right straight through to design specs, to, you know, to bidding and receiving bids and all that. So we can get a schedule that we can all review, so we can, you know, so we have an idea when things are going to happen.
Yep. No problem. I'll definitely have that
Thank
prepared.
you.
Anybody else on the pump station?
Is there anything we're going to have to do ahead of time to have dialogue with the council or the mayor as far as finances as well?
Once everything, yeah, so once everything is done and approved through iBank, then we go out for our bond
Okay,
ordinance.
very good. Thank you.
All right, good. Thanks.
Yeah,
Any other questions about that?
Yeah, where are we with the Wind River? Are they not engaged in this in one way or another?
I think Steve got everything he needed from Wind River so that we could move forward on,
I haven't got anything.
well, I mean, like in the beginning, like I think that I don't know if there's anything that we need from them right now. I mean, with regards to the pump station, we're
Oh,
pushing
for the pump station? No. As far as the pump
Yeah.
station goes, we're fine.
Okay, and they're in agreement with Mountain Creek and how they're going to manage it between the two of them?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is there any documentation on that?
That is documentation between them, not us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good enough.
Just asking on the, you said after everything's approved with the iBank that we go out for a bond. Do we need any sort of a commitment from the council of their intent?
So we go out for a bond ordinance is what I meant. So I might have misspoke there. The council has to approve a bond ordinance in order for them to then spend the money on this project.
But is the iBank going to want to see that sort of commitment?
iBank, so that's not like, the iBank has to say that they're going to fund it, and then our bond ordinance, I believe, I have to check the last bond ordinance, but I believe it states that we will be financing through iBank.
I could tell you this. I had an experience with a customer of mine who was waiting for iBank to fund something, and they didn't give an answer, and so, and that delayed the bond ordinance. And if they were given an answer, they could have went out and did their bond ordinance to finance the project. So Danelle is right. The order is you put in for the funding through iBank, and then hopefully they make a decision, either yes or no, in a timely fashion.
Right, and the bond ordinance, I mean, it doesn't take long. You know, you have an introduction, and then you have the adoption, and then you have 20 days after before you can actually, you know, pay from that bond ordinance. So.
Right. Yeah.
We
so,
do
and
have.
That'll coincide.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that'll coincide with any kind of bid process. If you're going through like a bid process, and then you know the time period for a bid to go out to bid, to receive a bid, to award a bid, you know that's a pretty lengthy process.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure because the application is being made in the MUA's name. Is that correct? And the bond ordinance is going to come from the township.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the same way the asset management plan application was done too.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a couple conversations with iBank about the strange financial situation it is, and they're aware of it. Just the way it works with this authority.
Yeah, so basically, if you're applying for the iBank, the funding, it's really the township asking for the iBank money. It's not the MUA.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, got any other questions about Pump Station 2? All right, Sewer Service Area Subcommittee. I don't, unless Danelle or anybody or Steve, is there an update on sewer service area or any kind of movement?
We did get an email from Paul DeMero, a response from him. But I think we're waiting on this meeting that's coming up. It might be next week actually, for the township. And we'll kind of make our decisions from there, I think. I think that's the best thing to do.
The Highlands Council and whether they're going to.
Yeah, it's not the Highlands Council. It's like the state planning. I know the state planning advocacy board has been working with the township planner. So we're going to wait. I think they had to apply to the state. It's been this big, long process. So we're waiting for the state to approve. And I believe it's on their agenda in the next week or so.
So if the planning that gets approved, we don't have to go through the process of getting sewer service area approval. Correct?
I mean, ideally, yes, ideally, yes.
So
I think that's why we're waiting to get to this point, to have the town center endorsed as a town center and those locations, and not locations, but the, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I can't think of words, like the actual whole town center and that endorsed as a town center and approved by the state, because those have different regulations than our existing current status. So we're currently not in compliance with the Highlands Regional Master Plan. We don't have a Highlands approved town center right now. So we kind of want to see where this goes and get approval from the state before we move forward with the sewer service area mapping.
So the best thing is wait till that goes through and not really make much effort to get approval through Paul DeMuro and the DEP. Right?
That's my hope. That's my hope. That's my hope, Mike.
That's what we have concluded. Yeah, that's what we have concluded. All right, that's good. Any question about sewer service area? We're just going to move on to C, Solid Waste Stormwater Subcommittee. I don't know, Kristen, have you done anything or do you have anything to report on that?
No, I haven't. I regret to say I have not progressed these items. I had a question for Rich regarding how revenue would be allocated or used if we did have these other branches of service, if we did take on solid waste collection, if we did implement a stormwater utility where we had some source of revenue there. Would we be required to separate that into separate pools, or would it go into a common, MUA income?
No, it would go into the general MUA operating account. Obviously, when you did the budget, you would have expenses attributable to each system and revenue that's coming in from it. But in terms of the pool of money, I don't believe, unless the auditor, Rob McNinch, felt otherwise, that you would have to segregate the funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will try to advance these. I know I kind of initiated these things and I haven't been active enough in advancing them. So trying to make some progress.
That's fine. And Howie's on the online. if you can, I have a question for Howie about solid waste. How to enlighten us on how the township handles solid waste now? Can you tell us how, like, what kind of program, if there is a program, or I just don't know the specifics of what you have, just solid waste, not stormwater. I'm just more interested in solid waste.
We do not have a program, well, not that I know of anyway.
So there's like no real program for solid waste. There's, you have like maybe days you bring, you allow people to bring in bulk waste, but there's no real program inside the DPW, right?
Right. That's the only thing that we have is a bulky waste day. That's about it. But that's for clean community.
What about the recycling program?
That just comes in there for the aluminum, cardboard, plastic.
Is that contracted out, or is it run by?
No, we do that. It used to be contracted out, but we do that now. The only thing that comes in is for outside is for refrigerators. And then once in a while we have Fords that come in and takes our metal when we can't or when we're too busy to run it.
And in your opinion, Howie, is this, I mean, I hate to put you on the spot here, but is this like, is this worth pursuing? Like, do you think this would be worth even looking into from our, the MUA's perspective? Like, what do you think? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think? But I am put you on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going to help us or benefit us, I'm always for it.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm always for it if it's going to help or benefit the MUA or the town.
Do you think the recycling center pays for itself right now?
Yes.
So it does produce an income for the town?
Yes. Yeah, and it's been doing that for a long time.
This is just my opinion, and I like to hear. I'd like to hear. This is just my opinion. Out of the two things, the stormwater and solid waste, I think solid waste, in my opinion, is worth pursuing under the MUA. I think that's worth, bringing some income and starting a program and doing something. I think that's worth it. But I'd like to hear from other people on the MUA. I mean, just. Or unless you want to think about it and come back, but I think it's worth pursuing. Anybody?
Well, I think that if I think it definitely deserves some more exploration, and so we have some type of answer to our questions. At this point in time, it's it's an idea that we don't really know the pluses and minuses, the dollar differences, the pluses and minuses. I think with some investigation and some little bit of work, we could probably have a conversation with that information in front of us and come up with an educated thought on it. I think right now we all lack the information we need to do this properly.
Agreed. Agreed, Paul. And I'll see what I can find out in terms of what information might be available from other municipalities in terms of costs and revenues from municipal solid waste and recycling.
Let it be noted that Dave McDermott has entered the meeting.
My apologies for being so late. I was at a surgeon with my wife. We were unable to get out any faster.
Well, I hope everything is well on that end.
I think it will be. I think we'll be all right.
All right, very good.
Kristen, if you, I know that I had sent over the specs from the last time Jefferson went out for their solid waste. Now they have a solid waste district, which I know the DCA doesn't allow like districting for solid waste anymore, but they do allow utilities. But you can check Jefferson's website. They have a separate budget in their regular budget for their solid waste district, just so you can see what kind of expenses and revenue goes through on there.
That's great. Thank you, Danelle.
Sorry about that, everybody. I got thrown off. Danelle threw me off the meeting, I think.
Yep,
it was
I did on
Danelle.
purpose. We're done with him.
Christian, just looking at this last charter, committee and project charter that we have online, maybe this is where you're asking a lot of questions and we're trying to figure out what do we want to do here, and Mike's been asking these questions. So I'm just wondering whether we need to expand on this so that we can have an established direction of where we're going. I don't know whether you agree or not, because there's 3 points in here about solid waste subcommittee, but nothing about actually on the other piece of this, which we were talking about, which is stormwater subcommittee, which is a separate one as well. But maybe we need to put a little bit meat to the bones on this charter to help give you guidance.
Well, the one thing I was going to, I'm sorry, Kristen. The one thing I was going to suggest, and I just want to see what everybody thinks, is this something you want the engineer to look into, a solid waste program, and maybe they can look into it, like what other towns do, how hard it is to get started, and what the details are?
Yeah, but Mike, I guess I want to know, what is the purpose of this? I mean, we talk about solid waste, and what is the purpose? What's the, the magnitude of this, and what are we trying to address here? What's the objective? And I don't get any of that right now. And that's, Danelle makes up a good point. Let's see what other towns are doing and why they're doing this.
So I can chime in here actually really quick. So there are some towns obviously that provide garbage and recycling pickup, right? Usually there's two choices. So they can contract with a contractor like Waste Management or Blue Diamond, and that's their vendor that goes out and picks up the trash. Or they can take it on themselves and they hire, guys, it's usually part of the DPW, and they go around and they pick up the recycling and or the garbage. Sometimes some towns do only recycling they pick up, and some towns only do garbage, and they get a vendor for the other one. The thing with a solid waste utility is that you have the ability to, instead of having 5 or 6 different vendors in town, which I think here we have 4, possibly 5. I don't remember how many I wrote down. It was like 1.5 years ago. Rather than having multiple vendors, you would go out for bid and you would get a bid, right? And then we can decide then this is our contracted vendor for the year. I believe West Milford does this. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure West Milford does this. And then that's who they use for their contracted period of time. The idea there is that you get it for a lower price. So it's usually going to be less for residents to pay versus what they're currently paying right now for their private pickup. And then the township has the ability to make money off of that by charging a difference. I mean, that's the reality of it, right? It's the same with really any utility. If you're going to provide a service, you have the ability to charge for that service, for the operation of that service. And then you'd be able to bring in additional funds while still saving the residents money.
And that's what should be on this charter, is that whole story. Because I agree. I didn't get any of that from that. I didn't know what the heck we were talking about. Is it garbage? Is it wood? Is it metal? So you spent all that time, and that's what needs to be on these charters, is that kind of detail, what the objective is. And thank you, Danelle. And I think Kristen probably appreciates that as well.
Yep, I'll take a look at the charter and work on some language.
Hui. Sorry, I'm a real nitpicker when it comes to stuff.
And then, I mean, I've always had a question, because I know we have it in here as the solid waste and also stormwater subcommittee. I think through the research that I've done, and I don't remember who else looked into this, but I don't think that we would really have a need for a stormwater utility.
No.
It's really not like for a township like Vernon to address those kinds of stormwater issues that you would have for utility. And to be honest, there's none in the entire state. So I don't like being the forerunner.
I know. It's a touchy subject to be the very first. I think what it can bring to Vernon is, I mean, we're a lake community, and we've seen what happened to Lake Hopatcong in recent years with these HABs, hazardous algae blooms. The lake gets shut down, people are shut out, and I mean, I know these are private communities, so there's another, wrinkle in the mix. But implementing a system that provides a source of funding to protect these resources from nutrient loading, from these kinds of events that can shut them down, is something that maybe we've been lucky, that some of our lakes haven't suffered that extensively just yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's coming, if we're gonna face that. And
I'm sorry, I read on social media this week that I think that somewhere up in Highland Lakes there were portions of the lake or beaches that might have been closed for one reason or another. So it's.
So it's a way to manage that and control that. And yeah, it's new and it's probably not popular, but I think people are starting to realize the importance of stormwater pollution.
Well, then, Kristen, I think what a suggestion is that maybe as an MUA, we can if we put out information on our website, not necessarily like we're starting a stormwater utility, but like putting educational material online to help all the lake communities in Vernon. I do agree with you about the lake communities, and those hazardous algae blooms are problems for lakes, and I agree. But to the stormwater utility, nobody's doing. Not even the big cities yet are doing. This is very new. It's hard to say how this is all going to progress. But I think at the least, maybe we could put some educational material online on our website just to educate, the township, and say, at least to show that we have an interest in it. So I can, if anybody, I can collect some information, and if people have some information about this, we can just send it over to Jackie and Danelle, and then just say, hey, put this information on our website for informational purposes, because I think that's worth doing.
Well, if we're going to do that, I mean, it shouldn't, I mean, part of this would be related to the stormwater runoff. But the bigger or immediate factor, people have to keep in mind when it comes to the lakes and the algae blooms is the aged septics, as well as the fertilizers people are putting on their lawns, and as soon as they wash into the lake, you're giving a smorgasbord to these bad algae. So we could discuss the stormwater runoff aspect of it, but people have to understand that their behaviors, to have a beautiful lawn, etc., are exacerbating the problem, and that's the beginning first step. I mean, it gets into the lake through the runoff, but if people don't understand that their activities and the way they do things is the bigger or part of the problem, because if there's nothing on the lawns to wash into the lakes, the problem would be much less. So if we're going to put something out there, I think we have to include all of that type of information. If these people up in Highland Lakes or whichever beach it is right now is currently closed, if what I read is factual, I'm not saying it is, it's something I read, and we know how we trust things on the internet, but if it is factual, if they read something from us explaining the situation, the fact that they can't go into their lakes in this hot part of the year might actually alter how they start altering how they do things, because they're missing out on something that they pay for.
Yep.
No, I agree.
Good point.
I think it's worth looking into. On the stormwater side, education, that's simple. It's an easy lift. It's not much of an effort. We could start on that. On the solid waste, I personally think we should look into it further. I think, going back to the solid waste, I think Danelle, I think it'd be helpful if it's possible, we can do a simple financial analysis of it to say, is this worth it or not worth it pursuing? I mean, I think we need to at least look at it. And if it's economically feasible, I think that's worth looking at first, and then down the road whether. So we either have to decide as an MUA we're not going to pursue this, or we are going to pursue it. So I think it's worth it.
You said it's a simple thing to look into, and I saw Danelle wince. I don't think it's going to be that simple.
I mean, there's a lot of things to
simple.
consider. Yeah, no. There's a lot of things to consider. I know the lake communities usually have their own. They basically have their own contractor come in, and it's just that one contractor for that community. Rather than, where I live on 565, I can choose whatever contractor I want. You don't really get that option when you're in a lake community. So that's something to consider. I think also you need to consider are you going to, I would assume that we would be looking at the entire town, right? So we wouldn't just be saying, okay, this one location or this one location. I'll look into it. I'm going to look into it. I need to know, because it's not just the number of properties. Like, I need to know who's actually, residential versus commercial or something like that,
Yeah, on the residential end, I think that it just has to be less money than people are paying now, because it's going to get rolled into their taxes if this is something that eventually happens. And if we show people that it will save them money, then it's a good thing. If it comes out the same, people aren't going to want to hop on board, because they see it as a tax grab. It's got to show a savings.
Right.
And I guess,
Listen,
the point
at
about,
the same time, go ahead, Kristen.
I guess the point about the lake communities having their own collection, they're probably doing the same thing that we want to do, right? So we might be, stealing their income, so to speak.
Oh, you mean like increasing dues to account for that?
They may be using it for, as an income source as well.
Right. Well, listen, if this is like what I'm saying, I'm driving at here, it's not worth having on the agenda. We need to either decide as an MUA to pursue it. If it's yes, we need to pursue it, or no, we take it off the agenda. We'll take it off the agenda. I'm trying to get a consensus from everybody.
I think it goes back to Mike, I think it goes back to what I said before. We have to have information in front of us, finances, and so we could come up with an educated, decision on this. Right. Like right now, it's pie in the sky, I guess. Until we have facts and figures in front of us, I don't think we could really come up with anything. So I'd say keep it on the agenda, on the back burner, until we have, numbers produced that we could all digest.
Right.
That's why I make sure we're all on the same page. All right.
Andy,
anything else on that?
Andy had his hand up.
Oh, I'm
Mike,
sorry, Andy.
Yeah, Mike, and this is in all fairness to Kristen, I think Harry was the one who really proposed this, and the two of you got onto this. And I think Harry and Kristen need to make that decision if this is really viable. Let them finish that. But I mean, in this discussion here, we're in paralysis because we don't know what to do here. Just also to make everybody aware, when you look at our website, we have these subcommittees all with a February 4th report, and there's no reports in any of those. So I might propose, Jacqueline, we take out all the February notes there, because they are completely empty, other than just the outline from, which is the charters, which it says view subcommittee charters. So each one of those February 4th reports has no report in it. Whereas if you go to the August 20th August 24th, 2020 report, I can tell you that there's a report for the finance one. There's one for the bylaws and personal committee, and there's details underneath each one of those. So that one we've updated, but the one for February 4th, there's nothing there. So we look like horses. Patooties looking at this and saying, there's nothing there.
Are you talking about reports in the minutes or the reports on our website?
On our website, if you go to the About page,
Mm-hmm.
and from the About page, go down through history to subcommittees. It says there's a hot link for view subcommittee charters. That's our original charters. But
Okay.
then these reports, if you open up any one of them, it's basically the charter outline and nothing else.
So it's
Right,
just
there's
redundancy. That's
That's
Yeah.
it. So let's just take it out.
I will send out an email to have those removed.
Okay, thank you. Keep the ones for the August 2020. Those have detail in them. But then
Okay.
have the charters brought back up so that they can be seen.
No problem.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anybody else? We're going to move on to bylaws, personnel subcommittee.
That's us, Dave. Actually, and
Oh.
that's, go ahead.
Good.
I'm going to recognize Dave. Dave is on, by the way. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Dave, who's that subcommittee, Andy? It's you
Me.
and Dave McDermott.
Yes,
Yep.
sir. And based
So he's
on
one.
the August 24th, 2020 report and all we've been doing right now, I think what we have to continue to do is what we've said here is improvements on the website. What Dave and I haven't really gotten into very much is the personnel part, right, Dave?
Yeah, no, we haven't. Although everything seems to be in that respect so far, it seems to be under control.
All right. And then the other thing is to review and update the fees based on the new ordinance that's still on that list. And when that happens, we'll have the website updated as well.
Yep.
And I think everything else on there it's been status quo at this point.
Yes.
So we're at this point that nothing else added. The sewer service area map is on, right, Janelle?
Yes.
Yeah, that's on.
Okay, that's all we have. That project, this whole charter just about is close to being closed unless we have anything else to add to it. So any input from anybody would be appreciated.
No, thank you, guys. On to the water supply subcommittee. There has been a lot of activity on water supply. And I'm going to actually turn this over to James, who's going to report about the meetings we had this week on water supply. Go ahead, James.
Sure. So Tuesday we had a meeting with Corey Stoner from Harold Pello Associates. A lot of kind of downloading. We kind of went over the history behind where existing water mains are, whether they're active, dry, or proposed. We also kind of touched on the old 2016 BS&J report regarding necessary upgrades if water was to be supplied to the town center. Yesterday we had a meeting with Mountain Creek. The intent of that meeting was to kind of gauge what the needs of Mountain Creek would be, which we kind of left at, it depends on what they develop at Mountain Creek, and that's what, their needs would be based off of, but they're going to try and get us a number on that. We also need to figure out what the available supply is. I did a quick check on the firm capacity for the Vernon, the Suez Vernon system. Looks like there's something like 240,000 gallons per day, at least that was what was advertised. As far as next steps, I think what we decided we wanted to do, us, Corey, and Danelle, we're going to, well, more so us and Corey, we're going to read through this agreement, which was basically a main extension agreement, I guess is what it's titled, but I think it's really just a boilerplate agreement if we wanted to have some type of interconnection with Suez. And then I guess the idea would be to evaluate if we could kind of create our own MUA, right, in the town center area. I guess what our plan is at this point is, rather than have Suez provide us an agreement, I think we want to kind of outline what we think the best situation would be for the MUA, and present that to Suez and let them comment on it and either take major exceptions to portions or hopefully, if we get everything lined up, agree with it. But we'll need to kind of go through this agreement, and then we hope to get Suez to the table. What we plan on is in about 2 weeks, we're going to meet with the MUA attorney and kind of go through the agreement and then kind of gauge next steps from there.
Danelle, you have anything to add to that?
I do not. Just along the lines of water in general, I did put forward a capital ordinance. I sent it over to Marcy a couple of days ago for council to review, to use the America Rescue Plan money for water and or sewer infrastructure. So that will hopefully be on the council meeting on the 26th. We did receive half of that money in on the township side, so that's good. And the capital ordinance is for 1.75 million. The reason why I didn't put the full amount into the capital ordinance is because we're going to probably need money for bonding. So we're going to need money to put down as a down payment on our bond ordinance. So we have some left over to put towards that. Yeah, I think our next step, like James said, is that we're going to go through that agreement, that the boilerplate they sent us. We already know that there's things that I think that we should have as far as our the franchise area. So I think it's just a matter of putting together our own agreement and then, you know, sitting down with Suez. I think once we have the capital ordinance, even at least introduced, it kind of shows Suez that we're serious about this. And then also having, you know, an agreement to kind of hash out with them is, I think, important too, to get them back to the table to discuss it.
Danelle, so you need from Dewberry, James and Steve, is you need detailed cost analysis of what, you know, the cost of the storage pipe, the pipes in the ground, and you need that. Do you need that information in support of the ordinance?
No. So the ordinance just allows the council to spend money specifically for something. So we have to accept the money for the America Rescue Plan as a grant. So there's a resolution for that first. And then once we do that, then we can use that money from the grant for capital projects. And the ordinance just states that you can use it for capital projects. You can't just use money in capital. You have to get approval from council.
So you don't need a detailed plan for costs for
the capital ordinance, no. For the bond ordinance, yes. So we have our estimates, right? We have estimates from Suez from a few years ago on what bringing water to town center would cost. Now, once we come to an agreement with Suez, I think we'll have a better idea of what we're actually going to need. And obviously, we do need James and Steve to put together cost estimates on what you think that, based on what their project outline was, the things that were going to be included, like the water towers, the pump upgrades, stuff like that. If we can get estimates based on what Dewberry thinks it would cost, not so much what Suez says it's going to cost, I think that would be helpful. But yeah, I don't need those details for the capital ordinance. We will need that for the bond ordinance, definitely, you know, because I don't want to take out less money than what we need, or way more money than what we need.
Do you happen to know, Danelle, whether it's, I don't know, the paving project for 515? Do you know what those time frames are, and when do you happen to know when that's going to happen?
So the county reached out to us. We talked about, they were originally going to do it this fall. Then they said they didn't think they were going to do it this fall. It was going to be next spring. I believe that Chuck, the administrator for the township, said that they got back to us and said they were going to do it for this fall. So the township needs to notify them that we will be doing water and sewer infrastructure. We did discuss it with the county and we said, you know, we did only get notified about the ARP funding. So we would prefer that you hold off on the project. I think they just want something in writing from the township stating that we will be doing these projects in the next 3 years. So I'll send an email after this meeting over to Chuck just to remind him to get that out to the guy at the county.
It has to come from the administrator?
Yeah, it needs to come from the
The
township.
letter? All right, yeah, please. So that goes out to the county notifying this is what we're going to do. So they're on notice that this is what we want to do. And then, so we're not under like this huge time frame to get this going then. I mean, you think they're going to wait, or you have no idea, right? What they're going to do, right?
Well, you mean, do you think the county's going to wait? When we spoke to him on the phone, I spoke to him on the phone. It was myself, Chuck, and the mayor. And he did seem like they are willing to wait. I think when he got back to us, he was saying they need like a definite, we will be doing infrastructure, right? They need something coming from us, not just a phone call. They need something saying we are planning infrastructure. You know, even if they say we have a capital ordinance on, we are going to be doing infrastructure projects with the ARP money. I think that should be enough. If they still say no and they're going to do the paving, we still have the option of going to them and saying, you know, we'd like a permit to open up the road. I'm not going to say they can't give us a hard time. I can't see why they would give us a hard time knowing that we just got this money. I understand that the county and even the state plans these paving projects years in advance, but no one could have planned, you know, the ARP funding coming in.
So if we were to prioritize any of the projects, is putting water lines or sewer lines in the ground, that would be the highest priority. Like we'd have to move quick on that. That would be number one on the list.
Definitely.
All right. So does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any questions about the meetings for James or Danelle? I was at the meeting. It was very productive with Mountain Creek. They're on board. They understand what we're trying to do, and I think the relationship between Mountain Creek and the town is great. So they were very positive. They understand what we want to try to do. We just got to keep on moving forward. I think this water supply subcommittee has now become, you know, really important part of what we're going to do. Anybody have any questions about that?
The capacity of 240,000 gallons per day, that's the existing system capacity?
The existing system capacity, off the top of my head, I think was 800,000 gallons per day. What their remaining surplus was, at least what was documented on DEP's, one of their databases, was 244,000 gallons per day.
Hey, Kristen, just so you know, Suez has allocation to drill another well. That they don't have a well now, but they have existing wells that produce a lot of water, but they have an allocation to drill another well if need be.
And that 800,000 capacity includes that future allocation, or that's, you said that's their existing capacity is 800,000, I guess is what you said.
Yeah, sorry, I actually pulled it up, so I'll let me just make sure. Yeah, it's 800,000. It specifically says water supply firm capacity, which is the total is 864,000 gallons per day. Their daily demand is documented at the total peak, which is 620,000 gallons per day. And then their remaining surplus firm capacity looks like it's 244,000 gallons per day. And I think just kind of putting together what the documents that I've come across and in the BS&J report, it looked like they were looking to upgrade the pumps for 200 gallons per minute on each pump, but considering one is probably just for, you know, redundancy. The 200,000, that kind of checks out. 200 gallons per minute kind of checks out to the, what their remaining firm capacity is. So I think the allocation they have for the water supply is that. I don't know what their actual pumping capabilities are, but
Okay.
that's what their allocation permit looks like.
Yeah, and then Kristen, those details are in that BSJ report.
Yeah.
That's pretty detailed. If you want to refer back to their original BSJ, whatever Suez gave to the town, those
Yeah.
it's pretty detailed.
Okay. I'll take a look at that.
So I guess the next step, just to wrap this up, is to once we get this information together, we're going to start, you know, meeting again, and then ultimately, you know, meeting with Suez and Mountain Creek and the township to sit down and try to, you know, hash out an agreement. Any other questions about that?
Good.
No. All right, moving on to the Finance Subcommittee.
I did just send everyone the updated financials before.
And
We're pretty on target with our budget. And we did send, this is part of my report, but we did send the updated capital items list and a few items that we're still working on. We're still firming up the specs of the solar pumps. And we just need to see if like the ones that we had picked out will work with the panels that we had already gotten. And I think that's it for right now. We did just get an update too from Howie from a blower that needs to be replaced. So we're gonna include that in our capital list as well. And hopefully get that ordered within the next week or so.
All right. Since we're talking about subcommittees, and I know, Scott, you're on here, and we have several subcommittees. You want to look at, you know, Scott, this is for you. You want to look at the different subcommittees that are available, and if you're interested in any of those, you know, let us know, and then we'll get you involved with those subcommittees.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, look at those, and at the next meeting, just let us know which one you want to be on, and then we'll or even before that, you want to just send an email out, and then we'll you know, kind of organize the subcommittees to see who's going to be on the subcommittee, and so that'll get you more involved in what we're doing. I think it'll be good. So you let us know which one you want to get involved with, and we'll make that happen.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. On to the number 10, the licensed operator update. Howie,
Yes.
you're next.
Yes, I'm on. July 6th, we had a power failure at pump station 3 due to a squirrel popping the fuse at the pole.
I've seen that happen. It's quite spectacular.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were a little puzzled at first.
I panicked. I'm not gonna lie, Howie. I panicked. I freaked out because we did not have power at that location. Yeah, but it was good. It was something easy and simple that they came to fix. So
Yes, it was. It was simple once they noticed it. We did get a quote from Wind River to do our yearly cleaning on all the stations. Dave Weber came out yesterday to remeasure all the stuff that he needs to start the job, which is going to probably be the 1st of next month or later. Correct me, Jackie, if I'm wrong on that one?
Yes, he said about the first week of August he should be able to start.
And then if you look in the package, I'm still a little hesitant on the ditch line that Andy and Harry want us to put a pipe in. I don't see it doing any damage. We were there, we weed whacked, we took pictures. There is no deterioration whatsoever from the last time we were there, even from this hard rain.
Okay.
Who wants you to replace a pipe there?
There's no pipe. It's where the runoff is.
Oh.
By one of our manholes at pump station 1. But I see it doing no danger or in any kind of danger.
You don't see any erosion in there until the fall, when all of that will be, all the vegetation will have left. So let's take a reevaluation of it then in the fall, because I know, Steve, you were there when we walked that. And it's quite deep in that one area, because the manhole cover is not even up to surface. I mean,
Right,
it's-
it never has been. This is
Right.
what- what-
It
So
never,
we didn't lose anything from day one.
Yeah, probably October is a probably good time to make an evaluation there.
yep. We'll take another look at it then in October. Because I see these pictures and it doesn't do this justice on how deep that is. And it does expose that whole manhole cover down 3 or 4 feet. And
Yeah, I don't think it's even that deep. I think it's probably about a foot and a half from the top of the manhole to where the dirt is. But the length of what we measured in there was 22 feet long going up the hill, where it actually dropped down in there,
okay.
and 12 and a half feet wide, I think the picture said.
Well, what's
Hey,
about,
hey, Howie.
Yes.
Is Howie? If you put like a black pipe, like storm drain, across that, and then cover it with QP, is that something that can easily be done, or is that a little bit of a challenge?
No, it can be done because the ditch is already made. It's just that my opinion on to putting a pipe in there is that now we're just making an actual, almost like a jet stream coming down behind the sewer.
You're just redirecting the flow.
With a little bit more
And why wouldn't-
velocity in the straight pipe.
Oh, so you'll think you'll actually make it worse.
On the bottom half of it, yes.
I tend to agree. That's probably true. Anybody any questions about that? I actually, going back, I have a question on the power outage, Howie. The power outages, you have alarms for power outages, right?
Yeah,
And did the alarms work?
it did not work on that one when we popped the fuse, no.
So why didn't it work, you think? That like the power went out, but you didn't get an alarm. But I thought there was an alarm for power outages there.
Yeah, and there's an alarm for when the generator turns on. And
It's-
nothing,
And that alarm.
Yeah, it was weird.
And the
That
alarm-
alarm did not go off for them, and then when they turned the generator off and turned it back on, and it went off then.
Then the
So
alarm
I have no idea why that alarm didn't go off.
Is that something that you need to want to call Ray in to check out, Ray Coronado, who did that work? Because you're supposed to have, that's supposed to be alarmed. And it's a sentinel alarm. It should have triggered the alarm. So there must be something. I think that's worth, I think it's worth checking into. You cannot, if you don't get an alarm, that's not good. We need to check that out.
right, which I don't know why it didn't. Like I said, whether because of the fuse popped, I don't know, because any other time that generator, we lost power, it calls us immediately.
Well, we need to address that. That has to be addressed. I would call Ray Coronado, who did the original work,
Yep.
and bring him in and check out why that didn't happen, because we can't have that happen.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't see how we can re-insinuate what just happened on that, reenact how that happened to see why it didn't kick on, or because like Danelle said, when we shut the generator off, it showed that it was off, and then when we turned it back on, it showed that it sent the alarm to tell us that the generator was running.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no,
Ray
I
will
think
know how to.
yeah, I think we should call him for sure on that.
Yeah, call Ray in, because he'll know how to test it and find out what went wrong. But I think you need to call him in and look at that.
Okay.
Any other questions about Howie's report?
As I said, just note that let's look at this ditch in November. This was an issue for you, Mike, and Harry when we went there. And yes, it's a ditch. It doesn't go anywhere. And we talked about putting something in there just to make sure that the runoff goes. And I agree with Howie. You don't want to have a rush into the manhole, but should we be piping it? But let's reevaluate this in October when the vegetation is gone.
Yeah, but
Right.
I agree with you, Andy, on that, but I also went there and took the time with this hard rain, and I figured that if there's any time to see it, it's gonna be now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, I would definitely revisit if you want.
Yeah,
It's
I'd like
just
to
my opinion
revisit.
that.
Let's revisit it in the fall.
Sure.
And I guess we also have in the fall a schedule for another walk of the pipeline as well, right? Every 6 months?
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Howie?
Guys are doing a good job staying out of emergency situations. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's very good. Reports are good. Nobody has any more questions for Howie. We'll go on to the next agenda item, which is the administrator report. Danelle?
Yes, I did already report on some of these. Sorry, I did, oh my gosh. Just close that PDF. Okay, so the force main evaluation, we did attach the report from Dewberry on the CCTV footage. It's a pretty long report with a lot of photos and detail, and it does rank certain areas, I think, on a 1 to 5 scale. So I just asked everybody review that just so that they're aware of the things that were reported in that report. And then once we'll have the additional language. I know Steve is working on that for the asset management plan so that we can finally move forward and be done with the asset management plan. And hopefully we can maybe get that done by August so we can be done with that. And then obviously the whole idea is to finish the asset management plan because Pump Station 2 recommendations are in that plan. And the principal will be forgiven for the asset management plan funding, which is $105,000. So we won't have to pay that back because we'll be doing, hopefully Pump Station 2 will be approved through iBank. So that's why that's really important to get that done. The sewer service area mapping, we already talked about. The updates on the capital items, obviously you guys have reviewed that list. We've gotten a lot of items in. We're ordering a couple more. The water infrastructure, like I said, the capital ordinance will be on, hopefully on this next meeting. That's obviously up to the council. And we'll just be moving forward. I just need to reach out, obviously, to the attorney to see if he's available to discuss. And then we're going to have another meeting also with Mountain Creek to discuss their water needs. They were going to get us some, possible development build out numbers to see, what kind of water they're going to need moving forward. So we'll have a meeting with them first, and then we'll meet with the township attorney to discuss the agreements with Suez.
Do we have, sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your report. Do we have similar build out estimates? We're asking Mountain Creek for their water estimates. Have we done something ourselves for the town center?
Danelle, we have right, the document that Corey provided. I don't know how this stuff was generated, but he did provide an estimate of like somewhere around like 80,000 gallons per day. I don't know exactly how he generated all of that, but that's the only number I've seen so far.
Yeah, that's about the number that I've heard that they've been tossing around since they first started talking about water to bring it to town center and what our needs would be, after development took place. But I don't know, it's hard to determine because we don't know what, it's based on, I think, existing zoning and what would be permitted right now as build out. I mean, I don't know if you could really determine what could be, right, if they change those.
Yeah, you really have to.
Right?
Yeah, you really have to go just on the existing zoning. That's
Right.
That's the way what you would use. So.
Right.
Okay. And I apologize. Is that something that's? Yeah. So I probably have that from previously. from Corey, the materials that, we've been provided for the Water Supply Committee?
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything from Corey from that, so probably not. I
Okay.
will get something or maybe James, can you share that? Because I don't think I have those from Corey.
Yeah, that was the piece of paper that we
Wait, is that
basically
just
made a
that?
copy
I
of.
thought he had more like calculations, not just the basic.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is like outdated or if he was even aware of like what went behind all of this, but I have it. I could just forward it over.
No, it's okay. I got it. I'm the one who sent it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I thought there was a little bit more entailed that Corey may have shared.
It does go along with one of the figures that was in that BS&J document.
Yeah, which
so
they
like
do have.
There's five things, listed, and they coincide with these colored areas on one of the maps.
Has the date for the next meeting with Mountain Creek been set?
No, I just reached out to them. It's going to be like in the same week. So we said if they could get us that information within 2 weeks, they'll let us know if they can't. But I'll let you know, Kristen, when they're available.
Okay, thanks.
And that's it for me. I think Mike got disconnected.
Yeah, looks like he's trying to connect.
Yeah.
On this test report that we got regarding the runs, on where is it? I think it's run number 3, where we had a 5 on a grease trap. Have we rectified that?
Okay.
On the CCTV, was looking at the grades on page 54 of that report, page 54 of our meeting packet, but it says there's a grade 5 there. That we have something we should probably address pretty quickly.
Yeah, bear with me here a second.
Yeah, I actually had the same question. At that report, should we be looking at that grading system? Is that the most important thing, Steve?
Well,
like
so,
the 1 through 4.
Yeah,
1 through
I
5?
mean, hang on. I'm trying to open up the specific page that Andy referenced. So it was section 3, you said, Andy, right?
Yes, sir.
Page 4 of 5 of your memorandum.
Yeah, so that was a section 3, deposit attached grease. So, I mean, you could try to be proactive in the grease situation there. The grease that's already in the pipe. I don't think most utilities would try to start addressing the grease issues within the pipe until it started affecting pump performance, which to my knowledge is not occurring. Cleaning that pipe probably won't be the easiest thing to do, just because it has so many bends and ups and downs and all that. So I don't know that it will necessarily be easy to address the grease situation currently within the pipe. I know it's been expressed before that grease within the wet well is an issue also, I believe. Is that correct to say?
I don't know who would answer that.
Is
Yeah,
Howie.
Howie would probably know
I
that.
think he's on. There you go. You're unmuted.
Yeah, sometimes we get it.
Okay, so it's nothing too extreme then.
No, it's usually about maybe once a year that we get a release. So
Okay.
say, the grease coming off the top.
Okay. I thought it was more often than that. Okay, that doesn't sound too significant.
No, and we usually, as of right now, we have our trouble spots marked from just past experience with it.
Okay.
And we do send out a letter to all the condo uses for the people and plus the renters when they rent it about what to put down.
Yep.
But why was this, it says the survey was abandoned right after that point. Is that because you couldn't get through?
I'm guessing so. Yes, that did happen on multiple occasions, at multiple locations, I will say.
Yeah, on that one that where it really shows the grease. From when I was there, that was on the exit to where it drops down into Falkenstein.
So that's a potential blockage and a backup pending.
Yeah, so I would say that, you know, like I said, I don't think that cleaning that grease is going to be a super simple thing. But I guess it's something that could be started to plan for, you know, some setting aside some funds for that.
Yeah, that's what we can probably clean from Falkenstein manhole.
And then, you know, the other thing is, you know, you kind of in the exact vertical elevation. Well, not I wouldn't. Yeah, the vertical elevation of the pipe isn't all that well defined. So it, you know, makes it a little difficult to see where, you know, different sections will drain to necessarily, which kind of leaves it a little more difficult to say exactly how things will go and for a cleaning process.
Okay, just I noticed the number 5 and then it says immediate action. I'm just wondering, will we take any action or gonna wait until this thing backs up and then we'll jump into it?
Well, that stretch is only the small stretch that goes right to our first air release valve.
Okay. I leave that up to the experts to figure out. I just questioned it.
Yeah. So, Andy, that's a good question. We can take another quick look at that and get back with potential recommendations.
Okay. Duly noted.
All right. Sorry, I got kicked off again, but I'm back on. Any other questions for Danelle before we move on? Number 12, I make a motion to open the public for items not on the agenda.
Motion to open to the public for comment on the, nothing on the agenda.
Second it.
Second motion made by Andy, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Are there anybody online, Jackie, that want online
or
that
in the
wants to
chat.
comment?
No, I do not.
Nobody?
Nope.
Okay, good. We'll move on to number 13, commissioners' comments.
Motion
And
to
we'll
close
start with,
comments.
I'm sorry, close comments for the public comments.
Motion
Andy
to close.
Pisker made a motion. Do we second?
Second.
Seconded by Kristen Wheaton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Nobody opposed. Commissioners' comments. We're going to start with Andy Pitzker.
No comments for tonight. Just keep moving along with getting the projects done.
No comments from Andy. Paul Carney.
Frozen.
You're on mute.
He's muted.
Muted.
It's muted.
I said I didn't have anything else to add, and I guess that's true. You couldn't hear me. No, we covered a lot tonight, and I think we touched on everything. So I'm good.
Thank you, Paul. Kristen Wheaton.
Yeah, no comments this evening. Thank you.
Scott Galway.
I think I'm okay for the most part. I did enjoy the conversation about the solid waste and looking to do something there as a town. I know that Danelia had said something about West Milford does it. I'm pretty sure they definitely do as well. And I remember when I moved here about 13 years ago, because I grew up in West Milford, I said to my next door neighbor, I said, "What is the schedule for picking up everything?" He didn't know what I was talking about. He's like, "You gotta You
It's
got
a
to go
rude
in.
awakening.
Yeah, so I don't understand, like, what day does the garbage come? He's like, you got to figure that out on your own. And, 13 years being here, my bill continuously just rises with waste management, right? For the same services. I mean, every quarter it goes up, every year it goes up, right? So I think it's really something that we should really be looking into.
Hey, Scott, on that one, I'll tell you with the price going up, just call them up with a quote from another company. I did it. I went out and got a quote. I called them and they took like $120 off each quarter.
I've looked around the other ones, the Blue Diamond and whatever the other ones are, and Waste Management is by far cheaper too, right?
Oh, really?
Which is crazy. And some of these some people are paying over 150 a quarter, and I'm all the way up to 125 a quarter. So I think that if there's a way that we can provide savings and make a little money on our side, it would be in our best interest. But I do understand what Kristen was saying is that maybe some of the lake communities are already doing that on their side, which I understand, but maybe there's a way that we can do it outside of the lake community so we don't impact them. But I think it's definitely something that we should entertain.
I'm just curious, are they picking up your recycling also?
They are.
They are. Okay.
But
'Cause,
it's recycling's every 2 weeks, garbage is once a week, right? And right, so
yeah, just 'cause my bill went down once I added the recycling, so I thought that was
Went
kinda-
down?
Yeah, it went down.
Yeah, but that's for like
because they're getting money. They can make some money on the recycling. So.
Oh, really? I'll have to talk
it'll go
to
back
Clyde
up.
on that one because I have both, and I had to get on there and give them a little, work to get them. But they did lower it, but it took some convincing.
Right. Kristen's probably one of the new customers, like you were talking, somebody was talking about in the beginning, right? Like Verizon, right? They'll give you, or maybe it was another meeting I had earlier.
It was. I mean, I've been here a long time, so it was probably after 15, 20 years of doing my own recycling. I finally called them and said, hey, I want to do recycling. And they gave me a bin and reduced my bill like $25 or something. I don't know what it was, but it was less.
That's good. That's all.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Scott. Dave McDermott.
Apologies for being late. And other than that, I just don't have anything to add at this time.
Thank you, Dave. All right, chairman's comments. I have none. I want to thank everybody. Great meeting again. We're getting things done. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second at the move.
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by Andy Pittsburgh. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hopefully no one's opposed. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rich.
everyone.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, James. Thank you, Debbie.